Streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and blasttheradio.com, this is The Lowell Green Show. The number to call and be heard around the world is 613-413-2217. Or email Lowell at blasttheradio.com. And now, here is Lowell Green.
Thank you, John. Man, oh man, these protests at our hospitals. Folks, what's your view of this? What do you think of these people? And don't pull any punches. I asked this question on Facebook this morning, and I'd say 90% of the people are disgusted by it. But amazingly enough, there are some people who support it, think that they have the right to do this, etc., etc. And there is no question that they have the right. I mean, we have the right to protest. There are certain aspects of protesting that are illegal, but very clearly, if you stand outside a hospital and shout even loud enough so that dying people can hear you, if you curse and swear at doctors and try to intimidate them, unless you actually throw something, that's legal. But I'm going to throw out a word that's hardly ever heard of anymore. Some of you will sneer at the word. Some of you will laugh at the word. Some of you people may agree with me. The word is morality. You know, I think a lot of people seem to feel that if it's legal, it's okay. It's legal. I just want to point out it was legal in Nazi Germany to haul Jews away, but it wasn't moral. But the idea of morality, I think, for many people has been almost lost. So many of those people who will assemble outside hospital, I don't know if they're going to be protesting here in Ottawa, but they are going to be protesting at a number of hospitals, certainly in Toronto, Vancouver, etc., etc. They protested not long ago at Cornwall. And I understand that we've had protests here at the Ottawa Hospital, the Civic Hospital as well. It's totally immoral. Absolutely, totally immoral. You can laugh at the word if you want. But in a democracy, in fact, in a civil society, there has to be a sense of morality. Not all things can be gauged by the law. You can't pass laws against everything. I mean, it's not against the law to be rude and ignorant, to insult people. It's not against the law never to take a bath and stink up your co-workers. Don't laugh. I once worked with a guy like that. Hadn't taken a bath in months, never used deodorant. It was so bad you couldn't get close to the guy. Not only that, he constantly farted. But, was it immoral? I don't know if it was immoral. It was sure as hell damn rude. Very uncomfortable for everybody around him. I just throw that out as something it's legal. Yep, it's legal to stand outside a hospital, insult doctors and nurses who have been striving, doing their best for many, many months, sometimes working, 15, 20 hours a day to try to save lives. It's okay to stand there and insult them. It's legal, but it's not moral. And as far as I am concerned, if you do things like that, you are nothing more than a thug. A thug. An ignorant, pig-like thug. Now you can object to my use of that word all you want, but I am tired of pulling punches. These people are just nothing but degenerate thugs. Now I want to point something out. There has been some people try to defend this. They say, well, this is on behalf of nurses who are being forced to be vaccinated, etc., etc. But that's not what this is about. These protests are being led by two totally discredited former nurses. Both have been fired. This has got nothing to do about saving nurses' jobs. This has everything to do with anti-mask, anti-vaccine. In both cases, these people, these two women, have been involved in the anti-mask, anti-vax movement since almost day one. To the point where, in one case, one of them was absolutely fired because she was spreading all sorts of false stories, including false stories about what was happening in her own hospital under her watch. Total, absolute fabrication of the truth. Both of these nurses are now under investigation by the College of Nurses of Ontario. They traveled apparently to some protest in Washington, the big riot in Washington. We're not sure if they took part, but they were there at a time when people were not supposed to travel to the United States, so they care nothing about rules, regulations. So that's who is leading this. It is strictly the anti-mask, anti-vaccine movement. That's what this is all about. Just as primarily the protests at the political rallies are, for the most part, anti-maskers, anti-vaxxers, etc., etc. And I'm sorry to say it, but most of the supporters of the People's Party, whatever the hell they call it, Max Bernier, are there for no other reason that they feel that Max is going to give them the best defense against vaccines. I don't want to get into the whole business about how the anti-vaxxers are, prolonging the pandemic, costing us lives, costing us billions of dollars. I won't even get into the whole business about how, voting for Max is in all probability going to give once again Trudeau the victory here. I won't even get into that. The fact of the matter is that these protests at the hospitals are being carried out by degenerate people who care nothing about anybody other than themselves. They are just, as far as I have said, degenerate thugs. Okay, I've pulled no punches. What's your view? Do you have any sympathy for them whatsoever? Look, yeah, it's free. Protests are allowed. It's not who is protesting. You can have whatever views you want. Protest. And it's legal to protest on the front lawn of a hospital, even loudly enough so that patients who are inside, including the very seriously ill, can be intimidated by it. That's legal. But it is not moral. And I don't give a damn what you say. I don't give a sweet flying fox fart what you say. Immorality still counts in our society. It is immoral what you're doing. All right, that's my view. What's your view? John, have we got any texts coming in yet? Any views on this?
We absolutely do, and I just told you off the air, it is now even easier for the listener to access your show. Over the weekend, we set up lowellgreen.com, so your links to the podcast, the video feeds, everything are there. Here we go, 613-413-2217. Craig says, many of the people who received either one or two shots are beginning to wake up. They were told by the experts that they just needed to get the shot and things would be back to normal. Things are far from normal, and now they're being told that they'll likely need to get multiple booster shots. Carolyn,
no, hold on. That's bullshit. You know what? I'm not gonna take these lies anymore. In fact, just the opposite. Canadian authorities have said many times, very clearly, they do not think the booster shot is required. They may change their mind, but don't come on this show and say they're saying we have to have the booster shot, when in fact, Canadian medical authorities are saying just the opposite. And as far as things not getting back to normal, the reason things are not getting back to normal is because idiots refuse to get vaccinated. Today, almost everybody who has anything to do with it, that has any knowledge whatsoever, will tell you that essentially, with rare exceptions, the pandemic is a pandemic of the unvaccinated. That's the reason we're not back to normal. Stop spreading your damn lies and misinformation. And I have some information about the people who are doing that. Go ahead, John, please.
On Twitch, Anna says, I agree. If they refuse to be vaccinated, then they get COVID. They pay their own way. A text at 613-413-2217. Lowell, I believe they can protest, but not stand in the way of the operation of the hospital. It should be like abortion clinics where they can't interfere while protesting by staying totally out of the way by law. I think the sick inside are mostly anti-vaxxers anyway. We have an email from Lisa to Lowell at blasttheradio.com. Yes, sir. Yes.
Wait a minute. Can we have some common sense here? What saying that the sick inside are mostly anti-vaxxers? Come on. We have people inside with heart problems, cancer, God knows how many diseases. But the great bulk of people in the hospitals are not there for COVID today, thank God. So come on, please, let's have just a modicum of accuracy, please. Go ahead, John. Jeez.
On Facebook, Scott says, I used to love listening to you. It's really too bad. Look at Israel for how many times you need a vaccination. An email from Lisa.
Oh, wait a minute, hold it. I mean,
yep.
These anti-vaxxers, will you people stop it? Okay? Will you people stop it? That get vaccinated. You're a bunch of boneheads that you don't. You're the reason that we can't put back to normal here. Stop this. Stop it. The evidence is there. Tens of millions of people around the world have been vaccinated. Almost no problems. Those countries that are vaccinated are the ones that, if not back to normal, are close to getting back to normal. Have a look at the situation here. There was, when COVID first broke out, we had literally hundreds of deaths in long-term care. All of those people, or almost all, have now been vaccinated. Almost no deaths. The evidence is around you. For God's sake, wake up. Go ahead. You know what? This is really starting to get to me, John. The ignorance that's out there. Go ahead, John.
Nina says, just my opinion, but I feel the mainstream media and government officials are causing a lot of these protests by constantly giving them coverage. And instead of calling them anti-vaxxers, just call them radicals, downplay the word anti-vaxxers, and possibly people living in fear of the vaccine would gain a bit more trust that the vaccine actually works, and protests might start to decrease. What other
evidence do you need that the vaccine works? Look around you. Look at what's happening. Those in the United States, the states with the lowest rate of vaccines are the ones with the highest rate of COVID. I mean, if we could get everybody vaccinated, or almost everybody vaccinated that can be vaccinated in this province, we would be back to normal, for God's sake. I mean, geez, the evidence is there. Do some of you people never read a damn newspaper? Do you never pick up a magazine? Do you never listen to a television newscast? Holy suffering doodle cats. Go ahead, John.
Darlene says, go on Canadian health stats, and it shows less Canadians died from viruses than previous years. Evidence is there, Lowell. There, T-H-E-I-R. Stop your ignorance. If you didn't do your own research, stop listening to the news.
This, you see, you know what? This is just beyond the pale. How people can be so damn stupid out there. The evidence is there. And the fact that you aren't getting vaccinated, and not only that, I'm going to say this, it's driving me crazy, okay? All right, you don't want to get vaccinated, that's fine. There are all kinds of consequences. You're not going to be able to go to a Senators game, not going to be able to go to Red Blacks, not going to enter most restaurants. Okay, that's your choice. No one is forcing you to get vaccinated. There are consequences. But what I really object to is you spreading this information, this misinformation, these lies. You spread. If you don't want it, fine. But stop spreading the damn hate, the damn fear. Stop calling me names because I think you should be vaccinated, along with any sane person in the world believes that. All right? Stop calling people names. Stop spreading the misinformation. You don't want to be vaccinated, that's up to you. But stop spreading information. Stop trying to persuade other people that this is something dangerous. Stop it. You're harming the country. You're harming your community. You're harming your family. You're harming yourself. Go ahead, John. See if there's anybody with a damn common sense here.
We'd love to hear from you on the phone. We'd love to debate this live on the air. 613-413-2217. There's your invitation, because it is back and forth on your Facebook page right now, Lowell, and we're posting the comments as quickly as we can. I'll skip ahead to some of the other comments we had earlier. Stephen says, let's make it illegal to protest outside hospitals. Robert says, take the protest to your MP's office. Who are these people? Do they not have a job to go to? Mike says, I was listening to the Rob Snow show today, and one of these protesters called in and said they were across the street from the Civic and were not interfering with the hospital at all, and anybody saying different is lying. Why they chose to have this even close to the hospital is beyond me, and probably are doing it because they will get more attention from the media. Jules is on Twitch. She says, my friend and I got into an argument. I said, if you decide not to get vaccinated, then you should not go to the hospital if you get sick with COVID. Guess we don't see eye to eye on this. Lori says, I lined up to get my vaccines, but I feel like my freedom is still compromised. My family is in healthcare, and they are so scared because they see these COVID patients suffering, and they walk out and see these protests. Darlene says, fact, people get COVID even when vaccinated and are also spreading it. Stop your hate and rubbish, Lowell.
Kiss my ass. I'm spreading hate and rubbish because I'm telling the truth. We know that some people who've had double doses can still get COVID, but they are not being hospitalized. Almost 100% of, 100% of people being hospitalized for COVID are unvaccinated. Stop spreading your bullshit. I'm sick and tired of it. And I'm going to tell you something else. Most other people out there are sick and tired of it as well. Almost 90% of people in this province have been vaccinated, which means that there's only 10% of you idiots out there. And it's time we stopped this pussyfooting around. You're idiots, you're dangerous, you're spreading misinformation, and I'll explain to you where this is coming from. And because you're spreading this information, you're making criminals, as far as I am concerned, rich out there, and I'll explain that to you in a minute. All right, I'm going to calm down here, talk once again about our good friends at Shields. Listen, I have talked to you before about the fact that the Natural Resources Canada has served notice that as of January 1st next year, many of the appliances, that includes freezers, clothes dryers, refrigerators, clothes washers, and dishwashers, many of them that we now can buy will not be available. Because as of January 1st next year, all of these appliances must reach Energy Star levels. And most of these appliances, in the case of freezers, 75% of them now being made do not meet the standards. 75% of clothes dryers don't meet these standards, which means that as of January 1st, they will not be available. Now, in fact, there'll be I'm predicting, and many people are predicting, there will be a shortage. Because the United States, the Canadian market is only about 10% of the total appliance market. Most of these appliances are made in the United States. They're not going to change their manufacturing lines to accommodate 10% of the market. So many of these lower-priced, more economically priced appliances will not be available unless the government changes its mind, or unless we have a change of government. So in the meantime, what I am saying to you, give Shields a call. They'll explain the whole thing to you. And you will see once again that here is a great company, local company, been in the business since 1947. Price is very, very reasonable. They'll explain the whole thing to you. But if you're in the market, if you think you need an appliance, might be a good idea to maybe think of it now. John, more texts coming in, please.
613-413-2217. You can now access the show at lowellgreen.com. Yes, there are other sick people in the hospital for sure, but as long as the protests are held off the hospital property, it shouldn't really affect them. It is affecting the hospital operation. That is illegal, in my opinion. On Twitch, Chrissy says, scares the hell out of me that recently there are notices that if you went to the fair or event, they are advising there were possible COVID exposures. Let me see. We've got, don't get the vaccine, don't complain, enjoy your self-inflicted world. Anna says, I agree, Lowell. I have a couple of friends who are double vax, tested positive, but no symptoms and not hospitalized. What does that tell you? Vaccines work. Dana says, I agree. Hospitals are not the places for these protests. Despicable. Steve says, all this anti-vax talk is handing Trudeau the election. He's using this to hide all his lies. Mike says, I'm with you 100%, Lowell. Glenn says, 100% behind you, Lowell. And an email from Rob in Carlton Place to lowell@blasttheradio.com. He says, I'm finished pandering to these clowns. If I'm the premier, I am giving people two choices. Choice one, get a free, safe vaccine. Choice two, pay for your own health care if you need medical attention for any vaccinated disease. We don't pay for eye care, dental care, prescription drugs, etc. Let them buy insurance just as we do when we travel.
I have to explain to you how people are making all kinds of money over this spreading of misinformation, fraudulent stories, etc. The social media is filled with them. John, you're quite aware of this. Today, in today's world, all you need are a small group of people who support your ideas, as radical as they may be, and you can make yourself a very nice living. Thus it is that we've got, both on social media and in radio broadcasting, even television now, we have hosts who cater to people who believe in ghosts and have a large number of subscribers of people who believe in ghosts. There's another group that caters to people who believe that aliens have invaded the earth, and they're making a nice living doing that. There's a very large group now that believes that 9/11 was all a plot, primarily by the Jews, anti-Semitic. I'm going to tell you, there are a lot of groups out there catering to a hatred of Jews, making all kinds of money. Let me explain. All you need, think of it, okay? All you need are 500, let's say you have 500 people who agree with you enough, as radical as your views may be. You say anti-vax, you say the vaccine is dangerous, and you present all of this stuff about how dangerous it is, and doctors and so forth who say that it's all a big sham and a scam, okay? So you find 500 people who agree with you, and you get them to send you $25 a month. 500 people at $25 a month is $150,000. If you get 1,000 people who agree with you, you've got $300,000, probably tax-free. One of these guys, and a guy by the name of Kennedy, you may have seen his name, he is one of the chief spreaders of false information. This guy has something like 3 million subscribers. I don't know how much they have to pay, but very clearly this man is making millions by spreading hate, spreading fear. This is the kind of stuff that I am hearing from some people calling today. Misinformation, hate, fraudulent stories, etc., that are being spread by people who are making all kinds of money doing this. I'm going to tell you right now, I could make myself a fortune. All I would have to do is take a real radical position. I could become an anti-Semitic, or even probably more lucrative, I could become really anti-Catholic. I could point out all sorts of things about the Pope and everything else, anti-Catholic. And I could charge people $5, $10, $15 a month, maybe even $25 a month. If I had 1,000, I could easily find 1,000 people. In this community of 1 million people, you're damn right I could. I could make $300,000 by spreading that kind of information and hate. That's what these people are doing. And some of you people are buying into that. I wouldn't be surprised if some of the people who are calling me here and texting and calling me names and so forth, if they aren't subscribing to some of these websites. I just have to point this out, okay? People are getting rich by spreading false information, lies. The fact that this is totally immoral, that it's costing us lives, it's costing us billions of dollars, it's prolonging the agony of the pandemic, that doesn't matter to them. All they care about the money coming in, okay? And if you subscribe to any of those places, you're helping that. John, more text coming in?
It's all about the clicks when it comes to the internet, and Gregory speaks to that exactly with his comment on Facebook moments ago. He says YouTube pays $3,000 US per 1 million views. That's in advertising revenues. The more ridiculous the video, the more views. There you go. Let me see. Gregory says, I'm with you, Lowell. The common man should be allowed to protest these protests. Scott says, you used to be a blast to listen to. See ya. Okay, bye, Scott. Darlene says...
You know what, Scott? Scott, if you're an anti-vaxxer, I don't want you anyway, okay? I mean, you're harming your community. You're harming the province. You're harming the country. I don't want you. And I'm going to tell you, most other people in this province don't want you either. Just sad to say, if you decide to come to your senses, be glad to have you back. But right now you have abandoned your senses. You know, your body, this COVID could not exist if it did not have bodies like yours not vaccinated. Your body is the one, a body of other unvaccinated people, you're the one who is spreading. You're spreading the disease. You're keeping it alive. And many doctors have pointed out that it's because people are still unvaccinated, COVID attacks them, and this is where the mutations take place. Mutations don't take place out in the air. They take place in human bodies, but they got to find a body that's not vaccinated. Jumping. You know, and there's so much evidence out there right now. So much evidence, and it's right around you. All you have to do is look at the COVID statistics. Find out who's showing up in the hospitals today. In fact, there was a story out of BC just last Friday. 100% of all new hospitalizations from COVID were unvaccinated. 100%. John, more text coming in?
Yeah, we've got a text here at 613-413-2217. Kim says, why aren't the cops providing safe passage at these protests?
Because what they're doing is legal. I don't know if people are being impeded. In Vancouver, some ambulances were impeded, and in all probability there may be some charges there. But it's not illegal to stand outside a hospital, even in the, well, I guess maybe in the dead of night. There's some probably local bylaws, but with foghorns or whatever the hell, megahorns, and blast away. There's nothing illegal about insulting doctors and nurses, some of whom are coming off, a 15-hour shift. Nothing illegal about that. It's immoral, but for a lot of people, morality doesn't mean anything anymore, sadly. More texts coming in, John?
Lori says, and these people are worried about climate change and people are dying of COVID. Darlene says, not false information. The facts are within the federal disease stats.
What does that mean?
I don't know. Darlene says, what do you think about exemptions for religious reasons? It's okay with some, but not others. And Kathy says, I never said that the vaccine was dangerous. I just would like to have a choice without being called names.
Well, you have a choice. Yes, you have a choice. Nobody's going to tie you down and force you to be vaccinated. However, you're going to have to, there are going to be consequences. And I just point out that if you refuse to be vaccinated, you are still susceptible to COVID. If there was nobody out there that was unvaccinated, in other words, if there were no bodies for the virus to descend in, to operate in, then we wouldn't have the disease. The virus has got to exist in human bodies. If all human bodies were vaccinated, the disease could not exist anymore, certainly not in its present form. I mean, think about it, okay? Yeah, you have a choice. It's right. We all have a choice. You have a choice not to wear your seatbelt in a car, too. You have a choice to go into a restaurant and smoke or do whatever you want. But there are consequences here. Consequences. And unfortunately, in this case, if you are not vaccinated, you come down with COVID, and you're the only one who can get it, as a non-vaccinated person, you can very well spread it to other people. There are many people, including kids under the age of 12, those who are receiving chemo, for example, for cancer, who cannot be vaccinated. So you're placing them at risk. Why? Centennial Glass. Once again, folks, we're dealing with a local firm here. No matter where you stand on vaccinations, you got to agree that if somebody has existed in our community since 1967, and with almost no complaint, a very high consumer satisfaction, they're doing good work, and they do good work. Their prices are very, very reasonable. A wonderful warranty. As I say, I'm not sure, and we've said this before, not sure what sort of government programs are available. If you're looking at getting some new windows and doors, there may be some government programs. They will be able to tell you. They'd be glad to advise you in that regard at Centennial Glass. Centennial.ca. Yes, John.
Boy, we're on fire today. Some of the comments coming in. Ann says, you can't win the debate when they are fixed on their feeling that we are taking away their freedom and rights. Sean says, Lowell, not everyone that disagrees with you has to be anti-vax like you state. I'm double-vaxxed, but do not agree with you about passports. They are starting to sound like pseudo-ranting.
Hold it. You see, I have never said that I support passports. And the same thing is applying now to O'Toole. People are saying, he's in favor of passports. He's never said that. I can understand that we're going to get them. We've got to accept them. For some things, international travel, we need them. But I'm going to tell you right now, if we had everybody vaccinated, we wouldn't need passports. So don't come on here and accuse me of being in favor of passports. I've never said that I do. I understand the necessity. I understand we're going to get them here. I wish we didn't have to have them. There, I just have to set the record straight. Go ahead, John.
Darlene says, Lowell only wants viewers that agree with him. Shameful you don't respect others with different opinions or freedoms of choice. Hey, Darlene, I picked the comments to read to Lowell, so you can direct that at me anytime.
Doreen, get vaccinated, okay? You're a danger to us if you're not. We have people out there who cannot be vaccinated, including little children. And by the way, if you're paying attention, which you should, you must know that in the United States, more and more, we are finding that young children are coming down with COVID, in some cases very seriously ill. So what you are doing here, if you're not getting vaccinated, you are placing other people, including little children, at risk. And you expect me to be nice to you? Not today. Go ahead, John.
Got an email sitting here from Lisa. She says, Lowell, if these protesters aren't careful, someone will come along and make a citizen's arrest for obstruction, intimidation to a pedestrian who can't walk along a sidewalk peaceably or safely. What those protesters who are clearly bored and nothing better to do is jump on a bus and go plant a few million trees in deforested areas of Canada and the U.S.
Okay. My throat's giving out here. My patience gave out a long time ago. So we'll be back tomorrow. That is if I don't run across an anti-vaxxer. Thank you all. We'll be back.
The Lowell Green Show is seen and heard live around the world at 2 p.m. Eastern. Connect with us online at blasttheradio.com/Lowell Green. Can't join us live? Download the Lowell Green podcast. Available on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. Ask your smart speaker to play the Lowell Green Podcast. This is a production of BlastTheRadio.com.